The night sky above Outpost R-71 shook with silent flashes of blue light. At first, the crew thought it was only a storm, but storms did not move like blades. Storms did not cut clean lines across the darkness. Storms did not make the ground tremble. The guards at the outer wall froze as a long shadow passed over the floodlights. It moved fast, like a ghost made of steel and hunger. One of the guards pressed the alarm button with a shaking hand. The alarm did not even finish its first ring before the shadow vanished behind the storage hangars. Inside the outpost, confusion spread quickly. Alien medics rushed through the halls, unsure what kind of emergency was happening. The station was a peaceful research center, not a war base. They had trained for accidents, injuries, and small fires, but they had never trained for this. In the main corridor, a senior medic named Volturi stopped walking when he heard the deep growl echoing from outside. It was not a sound that belonged to any known species in their medical logs. It sounded old, wild, dangerous in a way that made every instinct scream. Volturi turned to his team, his hands trembled. "That is not something we can treat," he whispered. "Everyone step back, do not engage." But the doors at the end of the hallway suddenly burst open. A massive wolf-like creature dragged itself inside. Its silver fur was soaked with blood, dripping across the floor in long red lines. Its eyes glowed like burning green fire, and each breath sounded like it was tearing through broken ribs. The creature's claws scraped against the metal floor as it limped forward, leaving deep marks behind. The medics panicked. Some shouted warnings, others stepped behind medical carts. The creature looked like a predator from a forgotten world. A legend built for war, not healing. Volturi raised both hands in fear. "Stay back, we cannot treat something like you. Leave this building now." The creature did not attack. It simply stared at the medics, confused and desperate. It took another step and collapsed on its side with a thud that echoed through the corridor. Blood spread around it like a dark pool. Even then, no alien medic moved closer. One whispered, "It is too dangerous. It will kill us if we touch it." Another said, "This species is a myth, a predator wolf. They destroy entire teams." A third added, "Even injured, it can tear us apart." Fear controlled them completely. The predator wolf lifted its head slightly. It growled weakly, not as a threat but as a pained plea. It blinked slowly as if its vision was fading. It looked around the room full of medics who refused to help. And for the first time, its eyes showed something no one expected. Fear. Just when the creature's head began to drop to the floor again, footsteps echoed from behind the group of aliens. The sound was steady, confident, calm. A human walked in. Dr. Elias Grant, the outpost's only human veterinarian, carried a medical kit in one hand and a portable scanner in the other. He had not been called. He had simply heard the alarm and followed the sound. He stopped beside the alien medics, staring at the injured wolf-like creature. For a moment, Elias said nothing. Then he let out a breath and stepped forward. Volturi grabbed his arm. "Are you insane? That creature is a predator wolf. It will kill you if you go near it." Elias gently pulled his arm free. "No, it won't. Not right now. It's scared. It's hurt. And right now it needs help." "That thing is not a patient," another medic snapped. "It is a weapon." Elias knelt down beside the creature anyway. He placed his hand slowly on its neck. The predator wolf tensed at the touch, but it did not attack. Instead, it let out a soft, broken sound, a sound like relief. "That's it," Elias whispered. "Easy, buddy, I've got you." The alien stared in disbelief. Elias opened his kit and quickly assessed the wounds, deep cuts, a fractured leg, severe blood loss. And something else, a piece of metal stuck in the creature's shoulder, glowing faintly. Technology the outpost had never seen. He muttered, "What happened to you?" The creature opened its glowing eyes slightly and looked at him. For a moment, Elias felt something like understanding pass between them, like the creature recognized something familiar in him, not his species, but his kindness. Behind him, the medics argued in panic. "We cannot allow this. That creature will wake up and kill everyone here. Humans, step away from it." Elias ignored them. He carefully applied pressure to the bleeding wound, speaking softly to the predator wolf as if treating a common dog. His voice stayed calm. "Slow, warm, stay with me, you're not dying today." The creature's breathing steadied just a little. A deep tremor shook the walls and alarms activated again. The aliens jumped. Elias kept his focus on the patient. "What now?" Volturi shouted. A guard rushed in. Something else landed outside, something big. We think the predator wolf was running from it. The medics fell into chaos again. Elias, still kneeling beside the creature, felt the tension in its muscles return. Whatever wounded it was close, hunting it. The wolf's eyes flicked toward the door, fear building again. Elias placed his hand on its shoulder. "Hey, look at me, you're safe, no one's taking you." Slowly, the creature looked back at him. Its breathing calmed again. Volturi stared at the scene, speechless. In all his years, he had never seen a predator, especially one as dangerous as this, respond to a healer with trust. But humans were different, strange, unpredictable. Their bravery made no sense to most species. Elias finally stood and faced the medics. "I need an operating room ready now, and I need all of you to remember something. I don't care how dangerous this creature is. Right now it's a life, and we save lives." None of the medics argued this time. They moved, not because they understood, but because the humans' confidence pulled them along. The predator wolf watched Elias as he prepared the surgical tools. Its glowing eyes softened, no longer wild but hopeful. It had escaped something horrible only to collapse in enemy territory. But against all odds, it had found one creature in the galaxy willing to stand between it and death. A human, and that changed everything. The doors to the main operating room slid open with a cold hiss. The blue lights inside flickered on, revealing polished steel tables, glowing screens, and rows of alien medical instruments. Most of the equipment was designed for small injuries or routine treatments. None of it had ever been tested on a creature like the predator wolf. Two alien medics pushed a hovering stretcher forward as Elias supported the wolf's head. Even though the creature was huge and heavy, it tried to lift itself every few seconds as if ready to run again. Fear drove it. Elias gently placed his hand on its neck, steadying it each time. "You're safe," he murmured. "No one here is going to hurt you." The creature relaxed slowly, but its glowing eyes still darted around the room, watching every movement. A predator's instincts never slept completely. Volturi entered behind them carrying a scanner tablet. His voice trembled as he spoke. "Human, are you sure this is wise if it wakes during treatment?" Elias did not look up. "It's not going to hurt anyone, not right now." He tapped the wolf's shoulder gently. "It knows I'm here to help." Volturi did not fully believe that, but something in the creature's behavior made him hesitate. This beast, feared across battlefields, now allowed a human to guide it like a loyal companion. The stretcher lowered beside the operating table. Elias motioned to the medics. "Lift." 3 aliens stepped back instantly. Elias rolled his eyes. "Fine, I'll do it." Using all his strength, he pushed, lifted, and shifted the predator wolf onto the table. The creature let out a weak grunt of pain but didn't snap or growl. It kept watching Elias, trusting him more than the entire room of trained alien healers. When the beast was finally settled, Elias began his examination. Multiple deep cuts, a fractured rib, burn marks from energy weapons, and that same glowing metal shard still lodged in the shoulder. "It wasn't just attacked," Elias whispered. "It was hunted." One of the medics stepped closer, voice shaking. "Hunted by what?" Before Elias could answer, the alarms outside changed again. This time the sound was lower, longer, a warning used only for one situation: invasion protocol. The walls vibrated lightly as something heavy moved across the ground outside the building. Not walking, not running, something gliding or crawling with weight like a tank. Volturi's eyes widened. Whatever attacked the predator wolf, it followed it here. Elias tightened the band around the creature's wounded leg. "Then we work faster." The medics hesitated, fear freezing them again, but Elias snapped sharply, "Move. Prepare the sealant gel and bring 2 stabilizer injectors." His voice cut the panic like a knife. The medics rushed to gather equipment. Elias leaned closer to the wolf. "I need to remove that metal shard. It will hurt. Stay with me." The wolf blinked slowly, its breath shaking. Its muscles tensed but did not resist. It understood. Elias activated the extractor tool and reached toward the glowing metal embedded deep in the wound. As soon as the tool touched it, the shard reacted with a pulse of faint energy, sending a vibration through the table. Volturi gasped. "That is not natural metal. That is advanced technology, possibly a tracking device." Elias stopped moving. The wolf's trusted eyes shifted toward him. It already knew. It had been running from something that could follow it anywhere. Elias exhaled. "All right, let's get this thing out." With a slow, steady pull, he removed the shard. Blood spilled, and the wolf let out a sharp, painful growl that echoed across the room. The medics jumped back, but Elias stood firm until the metal piece finally came free. He dropped it into a containment jar, and the lights inside flickered for a moment as if the shard disrupted the electrical grid. Then the ground shook again, this time harder. The predator wolf lifted its head, smelling something outside the walls. Its ears pinned back, its glowing eyes widened. Whatever had hunted it was closer than before. Elias placed a calming hand on it again. "Stay with me, you're not dying today." He cleaned the wound, sealed it with gel, and injected stabilizers into the creature's bloodstream. The wolf's breathing grew steadier, but its muscles still trembled with fear. It kept looking toward the door. Outside, distant metallic clicks echoed, like claws sliding across steel. Volturi whispered, "What kind of monster hunts a predator wolf?" Elias tightened his jaw. "Something worse." He turned back to the patient, checking its heartbeat and stabilizing its leg. "We need to finish surgery before that thing breaks in." The medics worked quickly under Elias' direction, even though their hands shook. His confidence gave them something they lacked: courage. The final steps of the procedure took minutes, but each second felt like a countdown to something terrible outside. The walls vibrated again, lights flickering. A strange animal cry echoed in the distance, high-pitched, metallic, nothing like any natural creature. A hunting machine. When the surgery reached its final stage, Elias removed his gloves and touched the wolf's head gently. "You're all right now," he said. "You're going to live." For the first time, the predator wolf pushed its nose weakly against Elias' arm. A gesture of thanks, trust, a bond forming between two species that should have been enemies. Before anyone could react, the security lights turned red. A guard's voice blasted through the speakers. "Everyone, prepare for impact. The creature outside is breaching the outer gate." Panicked footsteps sounded in the hallway. Volturi turned to Elias. "We must escape. The outpost cannot hold against whatever is coming." Elias looked at the predator wolf, still weak, still bleeding slightly, unable to walk. "No," he said firmly, "we are not leaving it." Volturi stared at him as if he were insane. "Human, defending that predator is suicide." Elias stepped in front of the wolf. "Then I guess I'll die a stupid human, but no one touches my patient." A loud metallic roar shook the building, shaking dust from the ceiling. The predator wolf struggled to rise, muscles quivering, trying to protect the human standing in front of it. Elias gently pushed it back down. "Easy. You're not strong enough yet." The wolf let out a low growl, not of anger but of frustration. It didn't want to hide behind anyone. Elias grabbed a medical laser cutter from the tray and turned toward the main entrance. Whatever was coming for the wolf would now have to go through him. The lights in the operating room flickered again. This time they did not come back fully. They glowed weakly, as if the power core itself was being drained by something outside. Cold air rushed in through the vents, followed by a low metallic hum. Something large was very close to the building. Elias tightened his grip on the laser cutter. He had no idea if the tool could actually protect anyone. It was meant for medical procedures, not combat, but it was the only thing he had. The predator wolf tried again to stand, its claws scraping the table. Pain pushed through its body, but fear pushed harder. It wanted to fight. It wanted to protect the one living being who had shown it mercy. But its legs trembled and it collapsed back down with a heavy breath. Elias put his hand firmly on its fur. "No, you're hurt. Let me handle this." The wolf blinked slowly, its glowing eyes filled with frustration and guilt. It hated being weak, it hated being hunted, and it hated being unable to help the human who had saved its life. A loud metallic bang struck the outer door. Every alien medic in the room jumped. Tools clattered to the floor. A few backed into the corners, shaking so hard their hands nearly slipped on the walls. Volturi whispered, "It has found us." Another massive bang. Dust fell from the ceiling. The metal door bulged inward like something was punching straight through it. The predator wolf growled deeply, a sound that made every alien freeze. Even injured, even weak, its voice still carried the weight of a battlefield predator. But Elias did not step back. He moved to the front of the room. "Everyone who can run, move to the back hallway," he said calmly. "Seal the secondary doors." "No," Volturi said, "you must come as well." Elias shook his head. "My patient stays, so do I." "But you cannot fight that creature," Volturi cried. "It is something beyond us." Elias looked back at the predator wolf. "Maybe I don't need to fight it alone." The wolf struggled to lift its head again, meeting his eyes. There was strength there, faint but real. The banging at the door grew louder. A long, sharp claw punched through the metal, carving a jagged hole. Sparks flew across the floor. Volturi grabbed the other medics. "Fall back now. They ran, leaving Elias and the predator wolf alone in the operating room. The wolf let out a warning howl that echoed through the outpost, a sound that made the walls vibrate. Elias held the laser cutter like a sword. "All right, whoever you are, stay away from my patient." The metal door bent inward with a shriek, then a second claw ripped another hole, and another. Something was peeling the door open like the lid of a can. Elias felt a shiver run through him, but he didn't move. A single glowing red eye appeared through the opening, not organic, not biological, a machine, but not a normal machine. It blinked, the predator wolf's eyes widened with pure terror. It recognized the hunter. Elias whispered, "What is that?" The machine pushed its head through the broken door. Its face was built like a skull made of black metal, with lines of glowing circuits running down the sides. Its body was covered in armor plates shaped like overlapping blades. Its claws were long enough to cut through steel without effort. But the most terrifying part was the way it moved, smooth, silent, controlled. Like a predator that did not breathe, did not fear, and did not feel pain, Elias swallowed hard. "Okay, that's new." The machine dropped into the room with a heavy thud that made the lights shake again. It scanned the environment with a slow head turn. When its metal face turned toward the table, it made a sharp clicking sound like a lock snapping shut. It had found its target. The predator wolf tried to rise again, but its body failed. It barked once, a desperate warning toward Elias, trying to tell him to run. Elias stepped between the wolf and the machine. The machine processed him for a moment. It tilted its head slightly. Elias felt an invisible wave of cold run over his skin, as if the machine was scanning every part of him. He raised his voice. "You're not taking him." The machine extended its clawed arm, charging a faint red energy at the tip. Elias gripped the laser cutter tighter. The predator wolf let out a loud, broken howl, begging him to step aside. But Elias refused. The machine lunged. Elias threw himself sideways, swinging the laser cutter with all his strength. The blade hit the machine's arm, sending a shower of sparks into the air. The machine staggered half a step, not from damage, but from surprise. Elias' attack meant nothing to its armor, but it had not expected resistance. Elias stood again, breathing fast. "Yeah, I didn't expect you either." The machine turned toward him fully. It now saw him as a second target. The predator wolf forced its body forward, dragging itself toward the edge of the table. Pain shot through its side, but it ignored it. It growled loudly, trying to draw the machine's attention away from Elias. The machine paused, deciding which target to eliminate first. Elias didn't wait. He grabbed a metal tray from the floor and threw it at the creature's head. It made a loud clang and drew its gaze back to him. "That's right," Elias said, standing straight, heart pounding. "Look at me, come on." The machine took one step, then another. The predator wolf's breathing quickened. It pushed harder, trying again to stand. Its legs shook violently, but it refused to stay down. Elias whispered without turning around, "Don't, you're not ready." The wolf ignored him and tried once more. Blood dripped from the bandages. The machine raised its arm, ready to strike. Elias tightened his grip on the cutter. For 1 second, everything went silent. Then the outer hull of the building shook violently again. A massive explosion erupted somewhere outside. The machine froze for half a breath, processing new information. And the predator wolf finally found its strength. It leaped off the table. Even injured, it moved faster than Elias had ever seen. With a furious roar, it crashed into the machine, claws digging into metal plating. Sparks flew as the two predators collided, one of flesh and fury, the other of steel and cold programming. Elias stumbled back, eyes wide. He had no idea how the wolf was still moving, but it was fighting now. Fighting for its life, fighting for its freedom, fighting for him. The predator wolf slammed into the metal hunter with a force that shook the entire operating room. Sparks scattered across the floor as claws scraped against armor. The machine staggered back, surprised by the sudden attack. It recalculated instantly, but the wolf didn't give it even a second to reset. Though injured and trembling, the wolf attacked with pure instinct. Its jaws locked around the machine's arm, crushing the joint until a piece snapped. The sound was sharp, echoing through the room like a breaking spear. The machine responded by twisting its body, launching the wolf off with brutal strength. The wolf crashed into a wall and slid down, coughing blood, but even then it tried to rise again. Elias rushed to its side. "No, stop, you'll kill yourself." The wolf growled at him, not in anger but in warning. It wanted Elias to move away, to escape. But Elias refused to leave. His hands shook, his heart pounded, but he stayed right beside the creature he had sworn to save. The machine took a step forward, its motion slower now. The broken arm sparked and jerked. It had been damaged more than expected. The predator wolf's strength had left an impression, but the machine was still dangerous, and now it focused entirely on the wolf. Elias stepped in front of his patient again. "Enough, you're not finishing this." The machine lifted its working arm, the red light at the tip glowing brighter. It charged an energy strike powerful enough to cut a hole through the steel wall. The predator wolf tried once more to stand, but its legs buckled. It collapsed, panting hard. Blood dripped from its wounds again. Elias felt rage fill him, not the kind that pushes a man to fight, but the kind that pushes him to protect. He grabbed the nearest object he could reach, a heavy medical oxygen tank. With a loud shout, he swung it directly at the machine's glowing arm. The metal tank hit the limb and knocked the energy shot off course. The red beam blasted into the ceiling, tearing open a smoking hole. Smoke and sparks rained down. The room shook again, followed by loud noises outside. Something massive was happening beyond the walls. But Elias couldn't think about that now. The machine turned its full attention toward him. It stepped closer. Each footfall crushed pieces of equipment on the ground. Elias tightened both hands around the oxygen tank. He didn't run. He didn't hide. He stood like a shield in front of the wolf. The machine lowered its head and scanned him again, confused by the human's illogical behavior. Humans were strange, too brave, too stubborn, too fearless in moments where fear was logical. The predator wolf watched helplessly. It let out a low whine, its eyes glowing with worry. It didn't want the human to die for it. The machine raised its arm again for a killing strike. Before it could attack, the facility shook with a violent blast. Alarms screamed. Light burst from the hallway outside, followed by shouts and running boots. Alien soldiers, security forces from the outpost, stormed into the operating wing. They aimed plasma rifles at the machine and fired in controlled bursts. Blue and orange plasma bolts slammed into the metal predator, forcing it to turn around. Elias pulled the wolf's head close, shielding its eyes. "Stay down. Stay with me." The machine moved with frightening speed, leaping across the room and crashing into one of the soldiers. The alien hit the floor hard and slid several meters before stopping, unconscious or worse. Another soldier shouted, "Focus fire, don't let it get close." Plasma shots filled the air like burning rain. The machine moved through them, weaving, dodging, and taking hits that scorched its armor. It lunged at the soldiers with a claw that sliced the barrel off one rifle. Elias helped the wolf roll behind an overturned table, giving it a moment of cover. But the wolf was fading, its breathing heavy, its body shaking. Blood soaked through the bandages again. Elias whispered, "No, stay with me. You can't fall asleep." The wolf's eyes opened slightly. They were dim now, losing the bright green glow that made it look so fearsome. It let out a small grunt, trying to move again. Elias pressed his hand against its fur. "You fought enough, let me handle this." The battle outside the table intensified. One soldier fell. A second was knocked back by a brutal strike. The machine was winning. It was stronger, faster, designed for killing. Elias scanned the room for something, anything, that could help. His eyes stopped on the glowing shard he had removed from the wolf's shoulder earlier. It sat inside the containment jar, pulsing faintly with energy. A thought hit him. If this shard was a tracker, then maybe it also held a signal, and maybe that signal could disrupt the machine that followed it. He grabbed the jar, opened it, and held the shard in his hand. It vibrated softly, sending a cold tingle through his fingers. The machine stopped attacking for a moment. It turned its head sharply. Its red eye locked onto the shard in Elias' hand. Elias took a shaky breath. "Yeah, I thought so." The machine stepped toward him slowly, ignoring the soldiers. It reached out its good arm, claws pointed directly at the shard. Elias realized the truth. The machine didn't want to kill the wolf. It wanted to retrieve the shard. The wolf was just carrying it. Whatever mission this machine had been programmed for, it was not personal. It was cold, mechanical, purpose-driven. But Elias had removed the shard. Now he was the target. He backed up slowly, keeping the shard behind him. The predator wolf tried to lift its head, panic growing again. Elias whispered, "Don't move, trust me." The machine lunged at him. Elias carried the predator wolf through the broken hallway, his arms shaking under the creature's heavy weight. Every breath the wolf took sounded harder than the last. Its fur was warm against his chest, too warm. Fever was setting in. Its wounds were reopening. Blood dripped down Elias' sleeves as he pushed forward. Behind him, metal tore apart with a sharp screech. The machine had found the glowing shard. Soldiers tried to hold it back, firing plasma bolts in fast, loud bursts, but the creature moved with brutal speed. Their shots only slowed it for seconds. Volturi ran ahead, waving Elias forward. Hurry! The evacuation ship is waiting outside. Elias struggled, nearly stumbling as the floor rumbled again. I'm going, just move slower, I can't run with him. The wolf let out a weak growl, almost like it was telling the human to drop it and escape. Elias shook his head. Not happening, stop arguing, you're coming with me. The wolf's eyes softened, but exhaustion pulled them half closed again. A loud crash echoed behind them. The machine had broken through another wall and entered the hallway. Its red eye glowed brighter, scanning for the shard, scanning for targets, scanning for the wolf. Volturi looked back and gasped. It is coming faster. Elias pushed his legs harder, ignoring the pain in his back. He reached the final door, which led to the outside landing area. The night sky was filled with smoke from earlier impacts. Emergency lights glowed blue and red across the ground. The evacuation ship, a small transport shuttle, floated above the landing pad with its ramp down. Alien soldiers stood around it, shouting orders and preparing defensive lines. Elias stepped through the doorway, and the ground behind him exploded as the machine burst through the wall in a shower of metal and dust. The soldiers opened fire again, but the machine barely slowed. It dodged, twisted, and leaped with terrifying precision. Elias didn't wait. He ran to the shuttle ramp. The predator wolf whimpered in pain as its body bounced with every step. Elias whispered breathlessly, just hold on a little longer. We're almost there. He reached the ramp, but the wolf slipped slightly in his grip. He tightened his hold and pushed it up, muscles burning. The wolf tried to help by digging its claws gently into the metal ramp, dragging itself forward. Together they made it inside. Volturi shouted from behind, seal the door quickly. But the pilot yelled back, we cannot lift off yet, more crew are still outside. Elias placed the wolf gently against a padded wall inside the shuttle. The creature panted heavily, wincing in pain. Elias knelt beside it. You're still with me, right? The wolf blinked once, slow but present. Outside, the machine cut through the defensive line like a blade through paper. Soldiers fell back, some firing, others dragging wounded comrades. Plasma blasts hit the machine from all sides, but its armor was thick. Heat built along its plates, glowing brighter. Volturi climbed into the shuttle doorway and shouted to Elias, we cannot wait much longer. That thing will reach the ship. Elias looked at the wolf. I'll protect you, I promise. The machine leaped over a barricade, landing only meters from the shuttle. One soldier fired a heavy plasma cannon directly at its head. The blast hit with a flash of light so bright the landing pad turned white for a moment. The machine's head jerked back, it froze, smoke rose from its faceplate. For a brief second, everyone thought it might finally fall, but the machine tilted its head slowly and refocused. The red eye flickered once, then turned brighter than before. The hit had only made it more aggressive. It sprinted toward the shuttle. The pilot yelled, we must take off now. We cannot leave the other crew? Volturi argued. Elias stood in the doorway, blocking the machine's path to the wolf. Close the ramp. Volturi stared at him. Human, are you mad? You will be trapped outside. The machine jumped onto the landing pad, claws carving long lines in the metal. Elias stepped off the ramp. Close it now. Volturi hesitated, but the machine's roar forced him to act. He slammed the button. The ramp began to rise. The predator wolf weakly lifted its head, eyes widening when it realized Elias was staying behind. It let out a desperate, broken howl. Elias turned, meeting its gaze with a small smile. Relax, buddy, I'm not dying, I'm just buying you time. The ramp sealed shut. The machine turned toward Elias. He held no weapon except the medical laser cutter still in his hand. It wasn't much, probably useless, but he held it anyway. The machine took one slow, heavy step toward him. Its red eye scanned him again. Elias stepped back, drawing it farther away from the shuttle. Inside the ship, the wolf thrashed against the wall, trying to rise. Pain shot through its body, but it didn't stop. It clawed at the floor, trying to reach the sealed door. It didn't want the human to face the hunter alone, no matter how weak it was. Outside, Elias exhaled, steadying himself. He tried to keep the machine's attention on him, not the shuttle that now lifted a few meters above the pad. Yeah, he said softly, that's it, follow me. The machine charged. Elias ran. He darted across the landing area, staying just ahead of the machine's reach. He heard the faint sound of the shuttle engines growing louder as it prepared to rise. Inside the shuttle, the predator wolf finally pushed itself onto its legs, every wound reopened. Blood leaked from its side again, but it didn't stop. It limped to the sealed door and slammed its shoulder against it. Once, twice, 3 times. Pain shot through its body, but it ignored everything. It slammed again. A crack formed in the metal. Outside, Elias ducked behind a support pillar as the machine swiped, missing him by inches. The pillar shattered in the attack. Elias dove across the ground, rolling to avoid another strike. He stood again, breath trembling. The machine raised its arm for a killing blow. And then, a massive metallic crash shook the air. The shuttle door exploded outward. The predator wolf launched itself out of the ship like a silver missile. Despite its injuries, despite the bleeding, despite the pain, it came for one reason: to save the human who saved it. The predator wolf landed on the metal ground with so much force that shockwaves rippled across the landing pad. Blood sprayed from its reopened wounds, but the creature did not feel the pain, not now. Not when Elias was in danger. Its glowing green eyes locked onto the machine that stood over the human. A deep, furious growl rose from its throat, louder than anything it had made before. The sound echoed across the outpost, vibrating through every wall, every piece of steel, every heart that heard it. The machine turned sharply, surprised again by the wolf's impossible strength. It did not calculate how a creature near death could still move like lightning. Machines understood logic, but predators understood instinct. And this wolf understood one thing above all: the human must live. The wolf lunged. The machine swiped its metal claw to meet the attack, but the wolf slipped under the strike, jaws clamping around the machine's leg. Metal cracked. Circuits sparked. The wolf twisted its entire body, ripping through armored plating. The machine staggered. Elias crawled backward, breathing hard, eyes wide with fear and awe. "Buddy, you're going to kill yourself." But the wolf didn't stop. It pounced onto the machine's back, tearing at the joints, pulling wires free. The machine whipped around violently, slamming the wolf into the ground. The wolf howled in pain, but it stood again. It would not stop, not until the threat was gone. The machine charged its glowing red eye, preparing a high-energy blast. The wolf noticed too late. The beam fired, ripping a deep burning line across its shoulder. The wolf collapsed to one knee. "No!" Elias shouted. He grabbed a loose metal pipe from the ground and ran forward. Without thinking, without fear, he struck the machine's head with all his strength. The blow echoed loudly but barely dented the armor. The machine turned toward him, its eye glowing brighter. It aimed at Elias now. The wolf's instincts screamed danger. With a burst of desperate energy, it leaped between Elias and the incoming shot. The red beam hit the wolf square in the chest. The wolf roared in agony and crashed to the ground, breathing fast, bleeding heavily. It was dying. "No, no, stay with me." Elias dropped to his knees beside it, hands shaking as he tried to stop the bleeding. "You can't leave now, stay with me." The wolf's glowing eyes dimmed, but it managed to lift its head slightly, nudging Elias' arm with a trembling motion. The machine stepped closer, preparing its final strike. Elias clenched his jaw. "I'm not letting you kill him." He stood up and positioned himself between the wolf and the machine. The medical laser cutter in his hand was weak, almost out of power, but he held it like a sword ready for its last battle. The machine raised its arm. A sudden explosion lit the sky. The shuttle, hovering above, fired a heavy plasma cannon straight at the machine. The blast hit the metal predator in the back, sending shards and wires scattering across the ground. The machine stumbled forward, sparks bursting from its joints. Its red eye flickered violently. Elias took the chance. He ran forward and drove the laser cutter directly into the glowing eye. The blade sank in just enough. The machine spasmed, letting out a metallic screech. Its systems collapsed all at once. It fell to the ground in a cloud of smoke, silent, dead. Elias stumbled back, dropping the cutter. His chest tightened as he turned toward the wolf. It lay still, too still. Elias dropped to the ground beside it. "Hey, look at me, come on, you're not done yet." The wolf's breathing slowed. Its eyes blinked weakly, barely glowing now. Blood pooled beneath it. Elias pressed his hands against its wounds, trying to stop the flow. Tears blurred his vision. He whispered, voice shaking, "You didn't have to do that, but you did. You saved me." The wolf nudged his arm again, softer this time. Its eyes held a message even without words: gratitude, trust, loyalty. The shuttle landed quickly, and Volturi ran out with a team of medics. The aliens stared in shock when they saw the destroyed machine, and then the dying wolf. Volturi knelt beside Elias. "Human, I am sorry, but this creature may not survive." Elias gritted his teeth. He has to. We do not have the tools. Then we use mine, Elias snapped. Bring every medical kit we have. No, something in his voice made the medics move without question. For the next minutes, Elias worked faster than he ever had in his life. His hands moved like instinct, patching wounds, sealing cuts, injecting stabilizers. Valtori and 2 medics assisted, trembling but determined. The wolf's breathing slowed. And then finally steadied, weak but steady. Elias let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. He rested his forehead against the wolf's fur. Good boy, you're still with me. The wolf gave the faintest rumble, almost a purr, before closing its eyes again. Not in death, in rest. Elias collapsed to sit beside it, exhausted. Valtori spoke softly. Human, today you showed us something powerful, something that changes how we see your species. Elias looked up, tired but firm. What's that? Valtori placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. You risked your life for a predator, one that everyone else feared. No other species would do such a thing. Elias glanced at the wolf.